Hi, it is Sunday night, November 4th, taking a look at Google. Just a quick video because I'm seeing something kind of interesting on here. Google really seems to be the whipping post of the FANG group after Facebook, of course. Although Facebook is actually bouncing back and doing a little better than it has been, but Google's taking its place on the whipping post for now. And after earnings, it has really taken a beating. It's come down to a low where it's almost touching the bottom of this rising channel that goes quite far back, um, all the way back to 2015, July of 2015. This rising channel. So pretty 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 good chance, that this could mark the low here if it gets a little bit lower. Maybe it doesn't have much further to go. Maybe 994 or so and rising. So really trying to maintain that $1,000 mark, and maybe it would be sufficient enough for it to just maybe dip its toe underneath and get bought up pretty quickly. The low so far for 2018 to begin with is 997. So maybe a test and hold against the 2018 low. But frankly, if S&P 500 is going to fall apart and is going to sell off back to that September gap fill, I don't see why Google wouldn't go with it. And if it does, I can put a bear fork on the pricing using these major swings that have happened in 2018. Excuse me. The first high that we had coming out of the gate on January 29th, point 2 would be the back test low off of the 2018 low, and then the all-time high would be point 3 for the fork. And you can see that the median line of the fork would come in around the 10-day simple moving average and the 20-day simple moving average on a regain. And then the bottom of the fork would come in right here where the September 2017 lows were. And if you look to the left here, you can see over here in 2017, that's where the lows were. So that would make a lot of sense that if the S&P 500 is going to fall back to that 2480 to 2460 mark, perhaps perhaps Google is going to come down here and test its September lows as well and obey this fork, the bottom of this fork. Now here's one other thing though that disturbs me a little bit, because my natural instinct would be to have made point 1, be this first swing high, and point 2 be this 2018 low, and then this point 3 being the next swing high, which would be the all-time high here. But what happens with this fork when I do that, when I put that point over here, instead, see if it will cooperate with me. What happens instead is that I get a low that goes much, much deeper. We get a low that goes down to, maybe like 850, something like that. And if this correction drags out much longer on the S&P 500 into the first quarter of 2019, we could be looking at a move all the way down to maybe the low like the lower half of the 800s on Google. So kind of like an 80 handle rule play, in that if it loses 1,000, maybe it's going all the way back to somewhere between 800 and 850. That would, translate to that 80 to 85 level on the loss of 100. It also translates with losing 1,000 and moving its way back to 800. So that's kind of interesting. But, if we just stay with the fork in place where it is right now, and we just, assume that that's what's gonna, that's what's gonna hold, that rhymes a lot with just going back to the September levels. And that rhymes in well with some stuff that was going on. There's actually like a gap. There's a September support at 925. There was a post-July 2017 earnings low that would break down below 925, but it would make a lot of sense and fits very nice and neatly with this idea on the S&P 500 of it going back to 2480 to 2460 to fill in a gap from September, and then Google as well. And if that's the case, if S&P 500 is going to go back to where it was in September of 2017, and Google's going to go back there, you can start to look around the other FANG names and see where they were trading in September of 2017. And then go around and look at things like Boeing and Cat and Deere and all of the other things that other names that have momentum but maybe are in a different sector. You can go over to Tesla and see what it was doing and just sort of start making your list and making your plans for what you might be shooting for if you want to buy puts, or if you're looking to buy common stock on this coming dip. If it really does happen and we really do make that trip down on the S&P 500, you can just go ahead and go around to see where everything else was trading at that time too, and get your buying list together and know what kind of prices you want to be looking to get things at. Okay, hope this helped, and I will post this chart along with this video. Good luck and good trading on Google.